Whenever you find yourself giving a short impromptu talk, or during the holiday season giving a toast, there's not much you can do as far as preparing with props. But what you can do that makes a huge difference in how well you do with your toast is you can use what I call vocal variety. Vocal variety. That's what we're talking about. Let me give you an example with a toast. As we gather together for this magical holiday season, let's raise our glasses to the warmth that fills our hearts, the connections that enrich our lives, and the joy we share with each other. May these moments remind us about the beauty in our relationships and the enduring spirit of love and kindness. Thank God we have that. Cheers to our cherished memories and to our new beginnings. To each and every one of you, happy holidays. Now, as I did that toast, which you might have seen in the previous episode, there was different points that I could use verbally. And I want to talk about the vocal variety that we bring to our voice. We can use tone, we can use volume, we can use pitch, and we can use pacing. Volume, tone, pitch, and pacing. Here's the thing. We can also use the quality of our voice.
Some people's voices don't have much quality at all, but they can still make it work.
And the articulation to make sure our words are enunciated properly. So let's talk about the big four. The volume, the tone, the pitch, and the pacing. You'll find out why I always pause before I say pacing in a moment. So let's start with the volume. Volume is all about when you should get quiet and say something that is remarkable. Or when you'll get the attention of everybody in the room with your bold sounding voice, and everything in between. By fluctuating the volume, you bring interest to your topic, and you constantly recapture the attention of the audience. Why is that necessary, you say? Have you not heard of digital media? Well, let me put it this way. When I was in grade school, I talked to a person who was in charge of some of the most cutting-edge instructional materials for business people. And they said that most business people had an attention span of somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. When I was in high school, it dropped to 8 to 12 minutes. When I was in college, it was 5 to 8 minutes. Anyway, you get the idea as it goes along. According to the last study I read from the end of 2022, we now have an attention span of 4 to 8 seconds. 4 to 8 seconds. Can you imagine that? So vocal variety becomes very important to recapture the audience's attention over and over and over. And volume plays a role in that. Because when you move in and say something softly, you grab their attention. When you back up and you just fill the space with your volume, you grab their attention. But you also have to have a normal voice so they know that you're being authentic. Okay, let's move on. That's volume. Tone is next. The tonal quality of our voice is super important. If you have a nasally sounding voice, you need to work on your enunciation. If you
If you have a voice that just sounds a little irritating, you need to work on changing the tone of your voice.
Because nobody wants to hear that for a long time. Now, my tone isn't necessarily good as is. I need to work on it often. The reason is, I've been in positions where I've visited people in the hospital, and as I've talked to them, they've fallen asleep because my voice, as they say, was so relaxing. You don't want your audience to fall asleep. So, tone. Figure out where your tone needs to go. And by the way, you can use tone stylistically too. So to make yourself unique to other speakers, feel free to play with it and decide what works best for you. So we have volume, we have tone, now we have pitch. Pitch is if you run your sentence up at the end, or if you run your sentence down. You can also go up in pitch or down in pitch with different keywords. For instance, now save! It's time for you to save at the latest broadcasting blah, 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 blah. Pitch can also be to get someone's attention. I never forget the one pianist, I forget his name often, but I never forget the moment I saw him in concert. And he did the thing where he started to make sound effects for the different things like periods and commas and exclamation marks. And he went, I don't know why, but pitch can be used in so many different ways to bring humor out, or to bring tenderness out, or to sometimes make something incredibly poignant. Pitch can show if you're happy. It can also tell you if you're kind of down and out and having to work through something difficult. So pitch coupled with tone, with at the right volume, you see where this is going, this combination of tools that we have. So we have volume, we have tone, we have pitch, and we have pacing. Now, I said earlier that sometimes people laugh at the fact that when I talk about volume, tone, pitch, and pacing, why do I put a pregnant pause in there? I'll tell you why. Pacing sometimes isn't about how fast you're saying the words to keep people's attention. Sometimes it's about making sure certain words land. And other times, putting a pause in there long enough for them to catch on to what you just said. Pauses are critically important. So pauses are a part of pacing. Now pacing, of course, when you're talking about something really exciting, it's good to pick up the pace. Could you imagine someone being, I was so excited when I was running down the hill and people were chasing after me. Oh my gosh, it was invigorating. Wrong pace, wrong tone. Okay, so if you're talking about something exciting, go ahead and make sure your words are flying by a little bit faster. If you need to make a clear and concise point, slow down those words so people understand that you're making a clear and concise point. You get the idea. So volume, tone, pitch, and pacing make a huge difference. Great tools in your arsenal of words and imagery and anything it takes to tell a story or give a short talk or make a toast that's of value. The bonus 2 words I mentioned earlier, the quality of your voice. I have to continually work on improving the tonal quality of my voice so I don't put you to sleep. Seriously, I have put so many people in the hospital to sleep in the middle of a conversation. I don't know how I do it. It just happens. They fall asleep on me. And then articulation. Articulation is really important if you're introducing a term or something that's significant. I've been on numerous online calls where the person says, yeah, we want to make sure that you understand such and blah, 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 because you can make X number of dollars more and increase your revenue traffic and blah, 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 blah. The key secret is, and that's exactly what you need to do. You need to, because it will be really, it's like, wait a second, what the heck are they saying? And then you glance over to the chat bar and everyone's saying, what word are they saying? How do you spell it? I was in college a long time ago, but in one of my classes, I had a gentleman, a professor from Pakistan that was teaching the class. And he kept on talking about algorithm. And I didn't know what algorithm was. In fact, I couldn't even pronounce it properly in English because all I knew was his sound of algorithm. I wasn't alone. Everybody in the class was asking each other, and by the fourth week in class, this is a class that meets 2 days a week, in the fourth week, we finally were like, oh, he's saying aggregate. Wow, what a difference that made to actually know what that word was. Now, granted, there was a little bit of a language barrier there, but that just meant he needed to articulate all the more because his dialect was significantly different to those living in the area at that campus. So articulation is something that we need to practice. If I'm using a specific word that I need to be very clear, I will practice that by over-enunciating. So that when I say that I need to enunciate, I can do that because I practiced over-enunciating. I know it sounds silly, but it actually works. It actually helps. So there we have it. Vocal variety is the tool to make your toast alive and impressionable. You do it by using your volume, the proper tone, and again, it can be stylistic tone. You want to have your pitch up and down for a little bit of variety, and then the pacing, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, sometimes dramatically paused. Along with that, the bonus tools we have to use is the quality of your voice and your articulation. So there we have it, vocal variety. I hope it serves you well. Have a great day.